Hi, we're going to spend a few minutes today with District Attorney Joe Early. How are you doing, sir?
Great, Matt. How you doing?
Great, great. Wanted to talk about what I understand is a new initiative, the Drug Endangered Children's Alliance. And what is that, and how do you fit in all that?
Well, thanks for asking. What we did was trauma is something that, as we've been working throughout the years, we learn more and more about the brain. We learn more about the way that trauma affects kids. And we know that if we don't get involved with kids, when they do have trauma, when they're suffering from trauma, we know that it causes both physical and emotional problems within kids. I mean, higher incidences of heart disease. They're more likely to be involved with the criminal justice system. And we saw in the country last year 101,000 deaths due to the opioid crisis, due to heroin, the abuse of OxyContin, fentanyl, which is 50 to 80 times stronger than heroin, seeing the heroin cut with fentanyl. And what we're seeing is that a lot of times kids will see different things because of this epidemic. And they might see their parents overdose. They might witness a drug transaction. They might witness a stabbing or violence because of a drug transaction. These are the things that we know we've got to deal with because this trauma has this horrible effect on kids. So what we're doing is building the first ever Worcester County Drug Endangered Children's Coalition. We went down and listened to the best in the country talk about the effects of trauma at the Drug Endangered Children's Conference down in Nashville, Tennessee this year. And we came away with some great stuff out of there. People stepping out of their silos to share their successes. And one of the places that this is working real well in Massachusetts, is over in Plymouth County with my good friend Timmy Cruz, the DA down in Plymouth County. And Timmy has been at the forefront of this. And, I got involved. I asked Timmy, how do we make it better here? And he suggested coming down and seeing how they're doing it. We hired one of their experts. We were so impressed by it, a guy named Eddie Jacobs. And we're working with all the different partners, the police department, the sheriff's department, the medical professionals. And what happens is that we've got so much great work already being done throughout our 60 cities and towns throughout the county. But we know we can always get better. And this alliance brings us together with the police, the teachers, the schools, the sheriff's office, and it kind of coordinates our efforts so that we can implement Handle with Care throughout the county. You ask, what is Handle with Care? Well, when one of these children has an episode where they witness this type of stuff, where they see this thing go on with the child, with the schools, where they see an overdose, before the child oftentimes would be in school that's in the house that witnesses this thing at 8 o'clock and no one would know. So now what we do is we do more for the child. The police department will call the school and say, Johnny Jones, Handle with Care. And that message will get out there, Handle with Care. So before, where a child might have got disciplined for falling asleep in class, not being prepared for a test, might even end up with a detention. Instead of that, now they get a warm handoff. The parent, the educator, the people at the school, ask them how they're doing. They give them the warm hug. They help with the trauma. We have a book in the office called Things That Children See, based on the Boston Children's Violence Initiative. And it talks about how important it is to talk to kids about trauma and traumatic events that they witness. In the past, we used to just look at it and say, leave them alone. Just let it go. They'll forget about it. And we know that not to be
That
true.
doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
No, not at all. So now we get the warm handoff. The police call the school. Johnny Jones, Handle with Care. The DA's office is involved. The sheriff's office is involved. We're all working together with the schools to make it better for these kids. And look, the biggest thing here, if there's a 40 to 60% better chance they're going to be involved with the criminal justice system, our doing this is one of the best preventive measures. It's evidence-based. We know it works. It'll keep these kids out of the criminal justice system through no fault of their own. Just that their brains have been impacted through this trauma. And it's just good government. We do more to help the kid.
Sure.
We do more to help the kid.
It's so sad that it's needed, but it's so
Yeah.
exciting, or I think it's a great idea, a great program, because it's so sad that there are so many kids affected this way.
Yeah, and you know, it's particularly uh, good when it comes to working with kids who are at risk youth. It's such a great crime prevention tool. I mean, the kid who unfortunately has a parent, might be a one parent family with this disease. I mean, I remember speaking at Shrewsbury High School several years ago, and the principal talked about how Shrewsbury had lost 37 kids to overdose deaths. And, you know, there's a huge stigma that goes out with this too. Where people think that this is a moral failing or a character flaw, when we know it's a very complex disease of the brain. And Dr. Collins, who just recently retired from the NIH, Dr. Nora Volkoff from the NIH, head of addiction services, tells us that this involves a rewiring of the brain. And so kids who are in these settings and witnessing stuff like this going on with their parents, can you imagine not going home or growing up, you get dinner on the table, instead, you know, your mother's or your father is lying on the couch, where you see them putting a needle into their arm.
Yeah.
These are things no kid should ever have to see.
No, scary stuff. Well, we're out of time for today, but I'm going to have you back at some point and talk some more about it. It sounds like such a valuable program to have in these that are truly scary times, with opioid and other addictions just seeming to be rampant everywhere. It's hard to believe, but it's so necessary.
It is so necessary, and to me, prevention and intervention, they're the keys to getting out of this. It's so much easier to repair a child that's hurting than a broken adult. And you know, kids are 20% of the population, but they're 100% of our future. So this is important to all of us.
Yep, so true. Thank you for sharing today about this program, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having us on board.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you very much.